All right, hey everybody, this is Dave Reynolds, and welcome to the first video version of the Surfing and Music Industry interview series. And I'm super excited to have Simon Jones on today. And Simon is currently the Vice President of Marketing for the Yamaha Guitar Group in Calabasas. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the Jam House, which is he is part of that, which includes surfers, skateboarders, and musicians. We'll talk a little bit about his early guitar education, and Simon grew up in the UK. And then maybe a little bit about his transition from the UK to Southern California. So I'm super excited, Simon. Thanks for coming on the show today.
It's great to be here, Dave. It's great to be invited. It's great to see you. I mean, it's been a while, and we've chatted a little bit here and there, but oh my goodness, it's just sort of great to catch up, And I suppose that's part of the benefit of some of the situation that we're in is that it's sort of forced us all to get used to this, and and then I don't know, it's pretty cool. I say I quite like being the first. I feel quite privileged to be the first sort of video blog for you here. For your project.
I'm doing it because that's what we decided we could do. So I've done the blogs and the podcast, and so this is exciting for me. And then soon we'll I'll be out there and we can meet in person. But in the meantime, I'm excited to hear about some of the things that you've been up to. And of course, we know each other from Line 6 back in. We met in, I don't know when that was, 2008 or 9 or something.
So you graciously came in and sort of gave us group lessons, and as you say, the place is full of guitarists, and you helped us all out. Although I think I needed some extracurricular support, and we ended up doing a couple of one-on-one sessions, and I still feel very much the student with a lot to learn.
It was fun. I learned a lot. It was about sound design, other things that I didn't know about. It was a gift. That was a great time. So how about if we get started then, and maybe we'll start with growing up in the UK and how you got fired up on the guitar and what inspired you.
Well, I think, oh God, I can't remember what the inspiration was, but I think it probably might have been Elvis Costello playing a red Strat or something like that on TV, and I thought, well, that looks cool. And I remember going to a music store and seeing a bass guitar and what's all that about. But one thing about the UK, as opposed to living in Southern California, there are many days at the weekend you'd sit there with your nose pressed against the glass, watching the rain come down and going, I just want to be out there, and you couldn't. And so just doing things inside and, picking up the guitar and playing, it was something I really, really wanted to do. And so that was sort of like the goal, but I needed to have a guitar. And so that was a challenge in itself. And it was funny really, because when I started high school, which was about 11, 12, which I guess was middle school here, it was the same year that a chap just sort of graduated college, and it was his first job teaching. He was a wood shop teacher at my school, and he started up a guitar making club after school. And I think he was doing local repairs and doing some custom builds and things, and I think using the shop was sort of good, and we were the byproduct of that was sort of get some kids in and sort of like an extracurricular thing. And so I badgered him, and finally he said, yeah, you can make, you make a guitar. You're a little bit young for the class, but give it a go. Cut a long story short, I made 3 guitars in his club, and I didn't actually play a bought guitar until I was in my early 20s.
That's gotta be rare to have your first guitar be the guitar you built. Most people get a guitar from a grandparent or from a parent, or my gosh, that's
the thing about it. The thing was that the folks then, they said, hey, look, you built a guitar, then okay, let's get in some guitar lessons. And so that was the point. They bought me a nylon strung Spanish classical guitar, and I started taking lessons. Just a little interesting fact, to this day, myself and that teacher guy called Mike Hardy, we're still best of friends. Our families are really, really close. He retired from teaching a couple of years ago, and now all he does is guitar repair. So if you're in the west of England, then he's the guy to go to. He's astoundingly talented, and that's his full-time thing now, it's super, super cool.
Wow! Can you get there from London? Is it way out, or?
It's a couple of hours, but it's really cool. I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for that man. So I said, a huge amount.
Yeah. Do you have a guitar?
I do actually. I just thought, if we talked about that, I didn't bring them all over. I finally had them shipped over, but So, don't laugh, but this is the very first one. And it was all sort of out of bits and offcuts of mahogany and whatnot. But this is SJ number one. And it was all, cutting the frets yourself and all of that. But and it wasn't like you didn't buy knobs. Mike was like, no, make them. So we got a bar of aluminium and chopped it off, stuck it on the lathe, and all the pickup surrounds were all bits of wood and sort of honed out. But that was it, and there was one in between that, and then this was the one that sort of it weighs a ton. I think I sort of put my neck out with it, but this was the one that I played for many years.
Wow.
Shipped it over, and I sort of give it a little bit of a fret dress and did some tweaking, and it still seems all right. You might have to sort of bend a couple of notes in here and there. I'm not sure how accurate the fretting is, but kind of works. Put enough sort of gain on it and play some jazz, and nobody knows.
Wow. Do you feel like that education, did you have any, when you played other guitars, did you have any thoughts about intonation or guitar builder thoughts when you play other guitars? Did you look at it from that perspective?
Absolutely. The thing is that I've even sort of done a couple of jobs for people. I mean, I had, did a job for somebody recently. It was a little scary because I hadn't, somebody else's $1,000 plus instrument, but it worked, and it was like, oh, that sounds quite good fun, So I cranked the bench up, and there's some of these oddities back here. Sort of a couple of those are sort of Frankenstein-y things that I've just play around with. Nothing of any value, but it's just good fun. It's just
that's amazing. Totally different journey than I had. I never really got into guitar, building or construction, and so I think that's neat to be able to have that at that young age and opinion on intonation. Or I noticed the one you had an angled pickup. You probably talked about that in class. Why would that happen? It's not.
Yeah,
it's different. That's pretty cool.
All of those things. It's good fun. I've never. I guess it's on the bucket list to try and tackle an acoustic at some point, but I haven't got there yet. Maybe if I get a time and clear the bench off, and away we go.
Oh, and then I did pull out this other book. This one. You recognize that?
Oh, that's the. Oh God! I recognize the symbol there on the front. That must be from the Royal Schools of Music.
Yeah. So I found that because I used that when I was teaching at a university. The syllabus I looked at, and so if you could talk a little bit about that, because I know that was part of your guitar education.
It is. I mean, it's the thing. I don't know. It wasn't until I actually started researching it a bit over here, because I got my hands on I left my nylon string classical at home. Well, at home, it was still in England, and I wanted to have a go at pick it up again, and I brought all my music with me. And I just looked for a tutor, and it didn't discipline me the same way that going through the Royal Schools of Music, which is an organization. It's a non-profit body, the Associated Board of the Royal Schools of Music. It's a combination of the Scottish Conservatoire and a few other programs, and the Royal College of Music, London College of Music, or something like that. But there's a set grading. There's a progression. It goes from sort of grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and going through that a formal curriculum. As you've got the syllabus there, at each stage, to pass one of those grades, you have to go through a set of exams, which means that you got to play. There's 3 pieces of material that you get to practice. Then you go and there's a sight reading test. There's an aural bit. There's an oral bit. You're clapping, you're singing back tones, you're sort of identifying, the notes in a chord, and so you do all of that, and you get the grade. And it was really good because it sort of held you accountable to sort of practicing and getting on the next bit and the next bit and the next bit, and you sort of work your way up the grades.
And you mentioned that you didn't take the test like with your teacher. You had to actually get out of your comfort zone and like drive somewhere, right, to like a proctor.
Well, you had to. Well, then I wasn't driving, but you sort of it'll be an independent room with an independent teacher, and it's adhering to the, this Royal Schools of Music, their standards, and it was usually a sort of a village hall somewhere. You'd go into that place, it'd be a bit cold and wet outside as usual, and you'd walk into this room, which would be a bit musty, walk across the floor, you can hear your footsteps very. And there in the middle of the room was a chair and a footstool and a music stand, and you'd get your music out, and the examiner would be right there next to you. You wouldn't know, and then away you go. Play your pieces without getting too nervous, right. and that's it. It was a bit daunting, really. And in fact, actually, it was somewhat probably more daunting than I said. I had a friend that was playing the flute that went through the same program about the same time I did. And I couldn't imagine, being able to sort of control a flute and blowing into a flute and controlling your nerves. But it was good. I'm so glad I did it. I mean, it's lasted me all this time, and I still got the pieces, and it's given me at least sort of a foundation there, even though it's super rusty. And you got to keep practicing. You got to keep sight reading. You got to keep your dexterity up and all of that. But it's super valuable. I'm glad I did it. And in fact, it's funny actually, because little anecdote here. I got to grade 5. It was all going pretty well, and my teacher, he was a great teacher. He was a real sort of stern dude. He was fairly young thinking back, but one of those guys that you didn't want to disappoint. But we got to which was good because it held you accountable for practicing and doing your bit. We got to grade 5. I think we passed grade 5, and he said, like, if you're going to carry on in classical guitar and the discipline of classical guitar and master that art, then you've got to make a decision. Because by that time, I obviously got my electric guitar, and I was in a school band and making lots of noise and annoying the neighbors on a daily basis. But he said, look, you got to make a choice. It's either you're going to take the classical path, or you're going to take the electric path. And that was it. So there we go. It was sort of abandoned classical for many years, and it was electric. The funny thing about it is that he he did have a Strat in his studio, but he shortly after that he went and started to teach at the local high school, and it was all electric, and he made all his living from there on out teaching electric guitar.
All in your footsteps.
I'd really like to connect with him sometime. I don't know whether I could find him, but he was another guy that's these people on your journey in music and life that sort of you don't forget quickly. Yeah. And he's another one.
That's interesting. And then how did you get from the UK to Southern California? You mentioned you went to university in the UK, right?
I did, yeah. Just because all I wanted to do was play the guitar, and that was it. But obviously, that wasn't a sort of a plan that had a huge amount of support from various people on. So I went and did a Bachelor of Engineering degree in electroacoustics, believe it or not.
Wow, amazing.
So I went and did that, and sort of came out. And cut a long story short, came out and sort of qualified electroacoustician. But shortly after that, I didn't take a job immediately. I was going to make my living playing music, and did the band in the van life for a bit, and
why not?
realized that you actually needed to buy food, and you had to put a roof over your head. And I got a job with a company called Martin Audio. Very circuitous route, but here I am. I'm in a live sound, making big PA speakers for rock and roll tours and stages, and using my degree. And from that, I saw an opportunity to come over to the US and work with JBL. Got into product management. So rather than doing the engineering, now it was the product management, and from product management sort of slowly evolved into a marketing role, and ended up at Line 6. And then, we got acquired by the Yamaha Guitar Group. And so Guitars, you got Line 6 stuff. We bought Ampeg, and just here I am, sort of like gone full circle all the way back to, okay, I'm not shuffling off to the mailbox collecting my royalty check, but it's not a bad deal. I feel pretty damn fortunate, that I'm just, it's my passion, and here we are, sort of surrounded by it.
In so many different aspects, you've had your hand in everything, so that's amazing. From building guitars to speakers to playing in bands on the road to, man, killer. And what were some of the bands that or guitar players that you looked up to, or back in the day, or still do?
Well, I guess I sort of grew up playing through the 80s and the 90s. That was sort of like the era. So lot of widdly sort of flash guitarists. I was Steve Vai, Flexible blew my mind when I heard that. Eddie Van Halen, obviously.
Yeah.
But then, I was like all the neoclassical stuff came out, and got really interested in that until that kind of jumped the shark. But that, Yngwie and in fact, here's the thing you asked me about there was a moment that sort of switched, that I went, I was in Manchester and I went to see Yngwie Malmsteen play. It was loud, it was brutal, it was just flash, stage kicks, picks flying, all this sort of stuff. Same venue, 2 weeks later, I go and see Jeff Beck on the Guitar Shop tour, right? Mind blown. Absolutely. It's like, boom, that guy, that's the guy, his control, his skill, his tone. It was just unbelievable. That was the master of guitar right there.
Yeah.
And, and kind of unassuming about it all as well, and it was just, it was like, I guess he's probably, if somebody said, who is the guitarist? It's like, that really sort of blew your mind. It's him. But then on the acoustic side as well, I liked, sort of the whole Michael Hedges thing when that started to emerge. I've still got a couple of his tunings written down, and I'll tune up. I've got a guitar here hanging on the wall that's sort of tuned in, I think it's open C tuning. That it's just good fun. I just like the sound and
it's amazing. Different instruments like harp guitars and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Man.
That's going back a bit now.
Cool. And then how about your relations with or the community that you're part of with the Jam House? If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a sort of an interesting one. It could be an interesting story, depending on your point of view. But I think it was sort of born out of a couple of things. One is a sort of a marketeer. One of the things that you hear, it's like, well, if only more awareness, could you create more awareness, in terms of your brand and your product? And it was about that time I was introduced through another peer in the industry and to somebody called Peter King. That I guess that it could be a familiar name to people that might watch this. And Peter King, sort of talking to him, and he came and visited to the office. He was actually using some of our Line 6 gear to do his video production for Tour Notes and WSL. And so he sort of swung by, and there was a Variax hanging on my office wall, and there was Helix, and there was all this other gear, and there was some stuff actually been out for quite a while. And he was just he wasn't aware about it. He wasn't aware of it at all.
Right, it wasn't part of his daily, yeah.
It wasn't part of his daily, and you sort of scratch your head a little bit. It's like, okay, well, that's interesting in the fact that how, we get very good at finding the channels to talk to the customers that know who we are, right? And how do you expand your reach to new customers and customers that actually might be using your stuff, but they don't visit the music social platforms, they don't go to music stores, they don't get music, guitar publications and all that. But yet they're doing it, they're creating or recreating using the gear. So how do you get closer to them? So we started talking about this notion about sort of connecting the connection between surf, which is synonymous with guitar music. In fact, Peter was in a band in the early 90s with Kelly Slater. Peter's a great guitarist, musician. Kelly Slater's a great guitarist, musician, writes songs. And it's like, oh, maybe there's something there that if we can sort of start sort of getting a little bit more involved and doing something. So we started to think about that, and sort of we went over to Hawaii, we took some gear, we met a bunch of people, and Peter introduced us to all sorts of people, from Steffi Gilmore to, there's a phenomenal artist that living on the North Shore there in Oahu. In fact, he spends half his time there and half his time in Portland, Oregon, called Ron Artis II. And absolutely fabulous person, fabulous human, songwriter, voice, guitarist, and just this whole community that was sort of associated and revolved around surfing. and guitar started to emerge, and we created some little videos. We got some relationships going, and another guy called Steve Salva, who was one of the first sort of Badlands pool skaters, in sort of the Inland Empire, and he's still committed to that. He skates every day, and
Wow.
and he plays every day. He's a fantastic guitarist. He's got 2 bands that he's active with, and so started to have sort of conversation and that sort of intersection between guitar music, skating, and then and surfing, and going, okay, can we build a community and a conversation around those 3 things, and that sort of those passions sort of intersecting. So we did that. We sort of create content every now and then, and we post it on My Jam House, which is a Facebook community, and it's it's something that could be cool to check out. And I'm constantly looking at new things for that, because it's not hardcore gear, it's not hardcore branding and selling, but it's about creating a community between this sort of intersection of passions, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. And if it really if somebody sees it and comes across it, and it sort of inspires them to pick up a guitar and play, or maybe a guitarist sees them, just inspires them to go out and take a surfboard and a surf lesson, then go for it. It's cool.
Yeah,
it's a really fun project.
Yeah, because I can see. I think it's important too. I know when I go into something new, when I started surfing, it's nice to know some things that you can do that can help you. So, like with the Line 6 gear that maybe people didn't know about. I mean, it's interesting just to know what can help you make yourself better. What could help you, be able to play your guitar, in a different way than you ever knew before. Like with the Helix, for instance, if that was something you're interested in. So I see that as a great informational pipeline, and building community and bringing people together through liked interest, but also expanding their knowledge.
Yeah. Because we do know. I mean, there are some very strong areas. There's surf. There are very strong geographic surf communities as well. So it's in terms of sort of being present around the world. Then it's not just located to the North Shore, but it's all over the world.
Oh yeah.
And that's the other exciting thing about it, and having this medium and that sort of community which exists in that space, is that you can sort of make these international connections. We did a project with Ron, and it went I would say it went viral in Brazil.
Wow, neat.
And it's like, I didn't realize that Brazil had such a strong surf community, but apparently it does. Yeah. So
I saw a little bit. I saw him on the Facebook Jam writing a song, composing. Yeah. Video of him composing to a surf.
Yeah. I think that was the project he did with Clark Little, who was that. He's the guy the shore break photography. And if you haven't checked that out, that's insane. That is.
Hey man, there's so much to digest. So that's just the Jam House on Facebook. You just type in Jam House and you're there.
Yeah, I think it's My Jam House or Jam House, but you'll know it when you're there. Yeah,
I found it really quick. Golly, so that's amazing, and the communities that you're a part of, because even your Royal whatever that was, I want to get it right, the Royal Conservatory of Music is thousands of people all over the world, and then the surf community, skating, music, Jam House is people all around the world connecting. So
that's it. Absolutely. Yep. You got to check it out. I mean, both. Yeah, it's that. You got the mute. Yeah, there you go.
Well, you did tell me that you took a surf lesson.
I did.
I like to surf, and I've got a few spots that I like to surf, but we have one in common.
Yes. My daughter wanted a couple of years ago. She wanted to try surfing, so we booked a family surf lesson at just north of or south of Rincon at
Mondo.
Oh God, Mondo's. That's it, Mondo's.
Yeah, that's one of my go-to spots.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I don't know why. Thinking about it, I don't know why we haven't done it again. But it was one of those things I always wanted to try because it always looked so cool. I mean, I skated a little bit as a kid and snowboarded a little bit and all that sort of stuff, but never really surfed and doing that. It was good fun. I must say though, Dave, huge respect. It beat the heck out of me. It really did. I was dead the next day. Just sore. Yeah.
Yeah, the paddling can be, gosh, that's a big piece of it. The balance and the paddling, just to stay in shape in case you're not surfing in between. You at least have to paddle.
It was paddling and then paddling out and sort of getting hammered, getting out, and it was. I did manage. I think there's a picture or a video somewhere of me sort of standing up for a little bit. So I did accomplish something. Although I think I annoyed somebody. I heard somebody. I got out. I was very pleased with myself, and I heard somebody shouting, and I was thinking, "Oh, right, they're cheering me." But no, it wasn't the case.
They were going down the line, yeah.
Yeah, lesson learned, hey? UVA. Yeah, no, it was all good fun.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I'm coming out in the summer, so maybe we can surf and take a guitar down to the beach.
That would be absolutely brilliant. I look forward to that. I really do.
I'll be out on the West Coast quite a bit this year. So, is there anything, Simon, that I didn't ask you that you wanted to add? I mean, we talked about guitars. We didn't talk about all your guitars, but we talked about the ones you made. We talked about, I'm sure your go-to guitar would be, one of the Line 6 latest guitars.
I suppose, it's very difficult, in terms of a go-to guitar, but this is, if you just had one guitar, every guitarist, shameless plug needs one of these as a Variax.
Yeah.
Because the DSP Magic and our engineering magicians that, put the noughts and the ones in this thing are absolutely, it's amazing. You can get any tone. It's got like 50 different guitar sounds in here and classics from banjo to acoustic, the 12 string. And then you can change the tunings and you can do your open tunings.
That's pretty incredible to be able to do that through Pro Tools. Like I have the native plugin for Helix, and you can retune your guitar, right on the. I think you can do it in the plugin if I remember correctly.
I was tracking, doing some ghost tracks for a friend in the studio, and all of a sudden it's like, I wonder what a sort of a resonator or sort of a bit banjo-y sort of picking thing would sound like, and it's like, let's give it a go. So just twist the knob and boom, there you go.
Yeah, Line 6 has definitely done some great work. And is that a Helix on your shirt?
Yeah, this is the classic Helix. Cool. Helix X. Yeah, you gotta can't do without that. That's certainly a useful little tool. That. Yeah.
Yeah, it changed my world. That's the pedal board.
You still digging that? You're still getting a lot out of that?
Yeah, that's my go-to. That thing is just amazing.
All right. So I got to ask, what are your favorite amps? What are your go-tos?
Oh, I can't even answer all of that because I would have to pull it up. What I do, I'm not, just like with the guitar building, I haven't built guitars before. And with sound design, I rely on some of the preset, and then I'll tweak from there.
Yeah.
You know what? Wait a minute. One of my favorite amps is the Litigator. I do like that one.
That's one of the most popular amps, and that's
because I like the Carlton sound. I like to get something that's really smooth, but has bite to it, without being like distortion or dirty. So that's one amp that I can start with, the Litigator. There you go.
That's a super popular amp, and that's a Line 6 homegrown original Line 6 amp, that our sound design guys put together.
That's all I have. Then I'm good to go with the Litigator.
Yeah, that's good to hear that. Yeah. Very cool.
All right, Simon. Well, thanks for coming on the show today. And you had an amazing journey, and it's still rocking and rolling. So,
got to keep rocking and rolling, Dave.
And keep up the good work, and then I'll see you soon, and we'll surf and we'll get out on the beach and play a little guitar.
And I really look forward to it. Thanks for the chat. It's good to talk to you, and can't wait.
All right, Sam. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, cheers. Take care, Dave.
All right, bye-bye. Cheers.
Bye.